There comes a moment in every life when the road behind must disappear. Not with a whisper, but with fire. A moment when hesitation is no longer an option, when retreat is no longer a luxury, when the man or woman you were must die so the one you are destined to become can finally rise. That moment is not marked by applause or approval, but by the roar of flames consuming every exit, every excuse, every inch of safety you once clung to. Burn the boats. Because success does not come to the one who merely wishes. It bows to the one who decides. Decision, that ancient word that Napoleon Hill called the foundation of all achievement. Not the timid kind of decision, made with crossed fingers and backup plans. No, the kind that severs all ties with doubt. The kind that makes turning back impossible. The kind Cortés made when he ordered his ships torched upon reaching the shores of the New World, a signal to his men, we win, or we die. When you burn the boats, you command your mind to build bridges out of nothing. You awaken a fire that doesn't wait for circumstances, that bends circumstances to you. That fire has fueled every titan who ever walked this earth. It burned in Edison when he failed 10,000 times and still said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. It lit the heart of Lincoln, who suffered defeat after defeat, death after death, yet still dared to believe he could unite a fractured nation. It thundered in the soul of Carnegie, who arrived in America dirt poor and forged an empire because he refused to leave iron and steel in the hands of others. They didn't retreat. They didn't negotiate with failure. They stood on their shore, struck the match, and let the flames remind them, there is no way back. This is not a speech for the comfortable. This is a battle cry for the relentless. For those who know that success is not gifted. It is seized, demanded, pulled from the jaws of resistance by those who refuse to settle. You must decide who you are. Not once. Every day. You must hold that vision with such ferocity that it blinds you to distractions. That it deafens you to doubt. That it burns hotter than any obstacle life dares throw in your path. Because mindset is not motivation. It's not positive thinking in the mirror. It's the architecture of your reality. It's the steel frame that holds your dreams steady when the storm comes, and the storm will come. Because mindset is not motivation. It's not positive thinking in the mirror. It's the architecture of your reality. It's the steel frame that holds your dreams steady when the storm comes, and the storm will come. Without a mindset forged in commitment, your plans are paper. Your goals are wishes. Your future is fragile. But when you decide, truly decide, that failure is not an option, you step into a new identity. The world begins to shift. Not because the path gets easier, but because you become stronger. Belief is the bridge between where you are and where you must go. But belief is not soft. Belief is not naive. Belief is a weapon. The kind wielded by every creator, every visionary, every world changer who stared into the face of impossibility and laughed. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Henry Ford was ridiculed by the press for believing the average man could drive a car. They believed anyway. And that belief was not some vague hope. It was an obsession, a refusal to let the vision die. But belief without clarity is a dream without eyes. You must see where you're going, even when no one else does. Especially when no one else does. Clarity is the compass. It's the reason behind the reason. The image behind your eyelids at night. The voice that whispers louder than fear. Clarity doesn't come from the world. It comes from you. Not from what you think you're capable of. But from what you decide is non-negotiable. Success doesn't respond to maybes. It responds to the soul that screams, I will. That clarity becomes your North Star. It shapes your habits. It guides your energy. It filters your decisions. When you know exactly where you're going, you don't need to be pushed. You're pulled, by purpose. Purpose. That divine force that makes pain bearable. That makes sacrifice sacred. That makes long nights and early mornings feel like fuel. Without purpose, discipline is drudgery. With purpose, discipline becomes devotion. And if you want to build anything that lasts, a business, a legacy, a new version of yourself, you must fall in love with discipline. Not because it's easy. Because it's essential. Discipline is the hammer that forges kings. It is the gatekeeper between intention and result. It doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you do. You think Carnegie felt inspired every day? You think Lincoln didn't feel fear? You think Edison enjoyed every failure? No. They were men who understood something most never will, that feelings are fleeting, but commitment carves eternity. So they showed up. Every day. No matter what. Because action, repeated, relentless, aligned action, is what separates dreamers from builders. And it begins not when the world is ready, but when you are. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be full certainty. That's the lie that keeps most people stuck in the waiting room of life, holding tickets to a future they'll never claim. Action is what burns the boats. Not talk. Not planning. Not perfection. Movement. Every step you take toward your vision kills a piece of your past. Every call, every workout, every moment spent learning, building, sharpening, it cuts ties with the part of you that once settled for less. And when you move with intention, something powerful happens. You begin to attract what once seemed impossible. Not because the law of attraction is magic. Because it's alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, when your energy is no longer scattered between doubt and desire, the world starts to bend toward your will. Not overnight. But inevitably. Because nature respects the law of momentum. And nothing gains momentum like a soul on fire. The world cannot ignore a soul on fire. It responds to it. Moves for it. Rearranges for it. Because the fire within you burns brighter than the obstacles before you, and that fire is lit the moment you stop negotiating with your limitations. Gratitude is not the opposite of ambition. It is the fuel for it. Be grateful not just for what you have, but for who you must become. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It means seeing your current battles not as punishment, but preparation. It means understanding that every scar on your journey is a signature of growth, proof that you did not quit. Look back only long enough to say, I survived that. I endured that. I grew from that. Then return your eyes forward, where destiny awaits. Because adaptability is your hidden edge. The one thing most people forget when the storms come. You will be tested. Circumstances will shift. Plans will collapse. People will doubt you. And that's exactly when you must remember, the goal is not to have an easy path, the goal is to become the kind of person who conquers any path. When the winds change, adjust the sails. When the door closes, build a new one. When your plan fails, redesign it. But never, never, change the decision. The boats are burned. There is no going back. You adapt because your mission demands it. You pivot not because you're weak, but because you are so committed to the outcome that you refuse to let ego stop you from finding a better way. That is evolution. That is growth. And from that growth emerges resilience. Not the kind they write on motivational posters. But the kind forged in silence, when no one sees, when everything inside you wants to quit but something stronger says, not yet. That is where resilience lives. In the mornings you rise despite no results. In the nights you stay up learning, working, building, while the world sleeps. In the rejections you endure without breaking. In the failures you wear like armor, not shame. Resilience is not about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. Learning is the path. But not schoolbook learning. Not memorization and regurgitation. The learning that comes from life, from pain, from loss, from daring greatly and falling flat. From taking the risk, owning the mistake, and still having the audacity to say, I will rise again. Because every master was once a beginner. Every legend was once laughed at. Every empire was once a sketch on a napkin, a whisper in the dark, a fragile vision protected by faith alone. You must learn as if your future depends on it, because it does. Study the greats. Understand their mindsets. Absorb their patterns. Not to copy, but to evolve. Read until your thoughts sharpen. Practice until your hands obey. Execute until your vision breathes. This is not about talent. This is not about luck. This is about relentless refinement. And that refinement leads to one thing, mastery. But you will not reach mastery if you are afraid to look foolish. If you seek comfort more than progress. If you crave validation more than victory. Burn the boats. Because mastery demands that you risk being misunderstood. That you risk standing alone. That you risk the ridicule of those who are too afraid to try. The crowd does not follow the brave. It follows the proven. And by the time they believe in you, you'll no longer need them to. Because belief begins with you. You are the first investor in your dream. The first builder of your legacy. The first protector of your fire. No one will hand it to you. No one will save you. And that's the gift. Because in that responsibility is power. In that burden is your freedom. In that solitude is the silence where greatness speaks. You will not hear that voice if you're still checking for permission. You will not feel that fire if you keep one foot in safety. You will not live the life that calls to you if you keep choosing the life that numbs you. Success is not something you chase. It is something you become. And becoming begins with decision. So decide. Decide now. Decide fully. Decide finally. And when you do, commit. Commit with every breath. Every thought. Every cell in your body. Commit until doubt is drowned. Until fear is forgotten. Until the person you were is ash and the person you are is steel. You were not born to tiptoe. You were born to take ground. To speak truth. To build legacy. To carve meaning into the bones of time. But only if you stop retreating. Only if you stop waiting. Only if you stop hiding behind Plan B, and burn the boats. Because success does not wait for the worthy. It reveals the worthy through fire. And you, yes, you, were made to burn brighter than you ever believed possible. So strike the match. Let the flames rise. And walk forward, eyes unblinking, spine unshaken. Because your destiny is not behind you. It's on the other side of no return. No return. Those words are not a threat, they are a revelation. They are the gateway between who you were and who you must become. And when you cross it, you do so not with hesitation, but with holy defiance. With thunder in your chest. With a soul that no longer whispers for approval, but roars for impact. Because when you burn the boats, you are not making a sacrifice. You are making a statement. You are saying to the world, and to yourself, there is no backup plan because I don't need one. This is the way. This is my way. And I will make it work. Understand this, you were never meant to live a life of quiet desperation, fitting neatly into someone else's expectation of you. You were not born to walk paths already paved. You were made to carve them. To endure the blisters. To bleed through the brush. To look back one day and say, this road exists because I walked it. That is the cost of a life that matters. Not convenience. Conviction. The kind that wakes you before the sun. The kind that keeps you moving when everyone else quits. The kind that says, this dream is mine, and I will bleed for it if I must. And you will bleed. You will lose friends. You will be doubted. You will question everything at times, your sanity, your pace, your direction. But that is the nature of greatness. It is not given. It is earned. And most of all, endured. The men and women history remembers were not remembered for their ease. They were remembered for their edge. For their refusal to fold. For their unwavering ability to stand tall in the fire, and become it. You must become the fire. Not the flame that flickers with the winds of opinion, but the inferno that consumes mediocrity with every breath. That is what this world needs. Not more followers. Not more passive participants. But leaders, of self, of vision, of purpose. And leadership begins when you decide that you will no longer abandon yourself. No more shrinking. No more second-guessing. No more waiting for someone else to save you from a life you were born to change. The time is now. The hour is late. And if you do not rise, who will? This world is not lacking talent. It is lacking commitment. The rare and sacred kind that turns men into mountains, that turns women into warriors, that turns dreams into dynasties. You are capable of more than they ever told you. More than the labels, the limits, the lies. But you must want it. More than comfort. More than validation. More than being liked, accepted, understood. You must want it with a hunger so fierce that it terrifies your past self. So clear that it silences your critics. So undeniable that the universe has no choice but to open the doors, or be torn down by your will. Do not fear failure. Fear regret. Fear waking up in a decade and realizing you never tried. That you tiptoed through life, avoiding every risk, guarding every excuse, and dying with your song still locked inside. Let that never be you. Let your life be the proof. Let your story be the sermon. Let your every action scream, I burned the boats, and I never looked back. Because forward is the only direction that counts now. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Now is when your life pivots. Not because the stars align. But because you do. Now is when you stand where the old you died, and you draw a line in the ashes and say, that version is gone. What rises now, is born for war. Because success is war. War against your own mediocrity. Against your excuses. Against the parts of you that want to stay safe when you were born to stand out. This isn't about ego. It's about alignment. You know what's inside you. You've always known. But you've buried it under fear, under doubt, under the weight of a life that never asked you to stretch. Well now, it's time to stretch. To rise. To become. You were not given this life to play it safe. You were given it to set it ablaze. And blaze you will, the moment you realize there is no going back, only going all in. So go. Build what they said was impossible. Live in such a way that your existence becomes evidence, that commitment, faith, and unstoppable action will bend reality itself. Burn the boats. And become who you were always meant to be. Because once the fire is lit, once you've burned the boats, you stop asking if you can, and you start demanding when. There is a sacred transformation that happens in a person the moment they remove the escape hatch. It's not madness. It's not recklessness. It is liberation. The kind of liberation that can only be found in the absence of retreat. You no longer drift. You drive. You no longer beg life to be kind. You command life to bend. Not from arrogance. But from alignment with the truth that everything you need is already within you. The strength. The strategy. The spark. All of it. You don't become extraordinary by doing what's easy. You become extraordinary by making the hard things inevitable. By showing up not when it's convenient, but when it's crucial. By holding the line when your knees shake. By speaking your vision into a world that hasn't seen it yet, because you are no longer asking for their permission to exist. This is what real power looks like, quiet, steady, unshakable. The kind of power that builds brick by brick in the dark before anyone ever sees the castle. The kind of power that turns early mornings and late nights into chapters of a legend still unfolding. And when people see you rise, when they see the mountain you've climbed, the fire you've walked through, they will ask how you did it. They'll assume you were lucky. They'll assume you were gifted. But they won't understand. They won't see the moment you burned the boats. They won't feel the weight of the silence, the fear, the doubts that came for you in the night, and lost. They won't know that success didn't come to you like a gift. It came like a war, and you won. They won't know that behind your strength was choice. The choice to be relentless. To be disciplined. To be consistent. To be all in. And those choices are not made once. They are made daily. Every morning you open your eyes, you are being asked the same question: will you fight again today? Will you build when no one claps? Will you grind when the outcome is uncertain? Will you believe when the world does not? Will you hold the line when the ground shakes, when your voice trembles, when your back aches? That's the cost. That's the tax on every great dream, and the receipt is written in time, in effort, in blood. But if you can pay it, if you can stay in it, the reward is unlike anything this world can give. Not just wealth. Not just status. But freedom. The freedom that only comes from self-respect. The kind of unshakable confidence that doesn't come from looking in the mirror and repeating affirmations, but from doing the work you said you would do. From showing up when it hurt. From staying when it was hard. From choosing growth over comfort, over and over again. That is the soul of transformation. And you will find that as you walk this road, the world starts to feel different. You'll stop chasing. And start magnetizing. Because purpose attracts. Confidence attracts. Clarity attracts. But only when it is born of fire. Only when it is forged in the space beyond hesitation, beyond doubt, beyond the boats you once believed you needed. So remember this: the version of you on the other side of fear is already waiting. The world you want isn't out there, it is inside you, buried beneath years of compromise, conformity, and quiet resignation. But it lives. And it can be awakened. It starts with a decision. A real one. Not a hope. Not a wish. Not a resolution scribbled in the fog of the new year. A decision that demands action. That demands you burn the boats, and finally step into your full capacity. Because you were not born to play small. You were born to be a force of nature. A living flame. A testament to what happens when one soul, just one, says, I will not turn back. I will not wait for permission. I will not explain my dream to those who cannot see it. I will not dilute my fire to make others comfortable. I will rise. I will lead. I will build. And I will never look back. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them laugh, doubt, mock, and misunderstand. Because the moment you made the decision, the moment you cut the rope to the harbor and watched the boats burn, you became untouchable. Not because you're invincible. But because you're unshakable. They can't touch a soul that's already decided. They can't scare someone who's already faced their fear and said, I'm doing it anyway. And they will never understand the fire that drives you, because that fire was never lit for them. It was lit for the dream. The one that woke you in the night. The one that tugged at your spirit long before you had the words to describe it. The one that felt too big, too distant, too impossible, until the moment you said, enough. Enough waiting. Enough doubting. Enough hiding. Now I move. That kind of dream doesn't come to the faint of heart. It comes to the bold. To the ones willing to be broken and rebuilt. To the ones willing to walk through darkness without a map, because they trust their fire more than their fears. This is your moment. And no, it won't be easy. It's not supposed to be. Easy is for those still looking for a way out. You're looking for a way through. And you'll find it. You'll create it. You'll become it. Not by accident. Not by luck. But by relentless execution. One more rep, one more page. One more call. One more attempt. One more stand when the world expects you to fall. Because the greats didn't become legends on the day they succeeded. They became legends in the thousands of invisible days they showed up without applause. When Edison failed 1,000 times, he didn't see defeat. He saw data. When Lincoln faced failure after failure before reaching the presidency, he didn't see rejection. He saw refinement. When Disney was fired for lacking imagination, he didn't fold. He built an empire of imagination. And when Ford was told the V8 engine was impossible to manufacture, he told his engineers, do it anyway. Do it anyway. When they doubt you, do it anyway. When you're tired, do it anyway. When you're scared, especially then, do it anyway. Because you weren't given this vision to abandon it when it gets heavy. You were given it because you are the one strong enough to carry it. And the moment you remember that, the moment you stop looking outward for certainty and start looking inward for power, everything changes. You stop trying to control the storm, and you become it. No more shrinking. No more side roads. No more, maybe someday. Someday is the comfort of the uncommitted. Your time is now. Not because you're fully ready. But because you're willing. Willing to take the leap. Willing to walk through the fire. Willing to live a life of intention instead of one of quiet apology. This world will offer you 1,000 distractions. It will try to sell you on safety, on settling, on smallness. It will try to convince you that it's noble to just be grateful, when really, it's scared of the power you'll access the moment you stop playing small. And you can be grateful. But still demand more. More from your days. More from your decisions. More from yourself. Because this life, it ends. And when it does, no one will care how liked you were. No one will remember how careful you were. They will remember what you built. Who you became. How you burned. And if you did it all with your whole heart or with half measures. This is your legacy in the making. Right here. Right now. With no boats behind you, an infinite sky ahead. So lift your eyes. Lift them to the horizon you once feared. The one you thought was reserved for other people, for the chosen, the lucky, the born with it few. That was the lie. The truth? The horizon belongs to those who claim it. Not in words, but in works. In early mornings when no one sees. In lonely nights where you stare at the ceiling wondering if it's all worth it. In those sacred moments of doubt where your only answer is a deeper breath and another step forward. That's the process. That's the price. And only those who burn the boats will ever know the reward. It is not money, though money may come. It is not fame, though attention may follow. The reward is freedom. Alignment. Peace in your soul because you know you left nothing behind. That you lived fully, not conveniently. Because too many will go to the grave with potential unspent. Too many will shrink themselves into shadows because they feared standing alone in the light. But not you. Not anymore. You didn't just cut ties with the past. You set fire to the very idea that there was anything worth returning to. And in that moment, you became something different. Not just a dreamer. A doer. Not just a believer. A builder. Not just a student. A force. And forces don't wait to be noticed. They demand attention, not with noise, but with presence. When you walk into a room with a clear mind, clear heart, and clear purpose, the world moves. It senses something rare. Something that doesn't flinch. Doesn't beg. Doesn't waver. That something is you. Fully awake. Fully committed. fully on fire. You no longer need to chase what you are, you embody it. You speak with fewer words, because your life is the message. Your discipline is the proof. Your habits are the sermon. Your progress is the roar. This is what burning the boats does. It doesn't just lock you into action, it purifies you. It strips away the fluff, the filler, the false identities you wore to please the world. It leaves only truth. You either build, or you don't. You either rise, or you don't. You either become, or you exist. But not both. Because comfort and greatness do not share the same room. One is temporary. The other is eternal. You must choose. And once chosen, once truly, fully chosen, you never look back. Not with regret. Not with longing. Not even with curiosity. Because the boats are gone. And ahead lies only the mountain. And the man or woman who stands at the top will not be the same one who started the climb. They'll be reborn. Carved by struggle. Tempered by failure. Crowned by discipline. And no one will be able to take that from you. Not critics. Not circumstances. Not time. Because once you've done the work, really done it, you carry the victory inside you. They can strip the title. Take the trophies. But they cannot unmake the person you became through the fire. So if you're tired, good. That means you're in it. If you're afraid, good. That means it matters. If you're stretched thin, doubting yourself, losing count of how many times you've gotten back up, good. Because that's the language of greatness. And the greatest power you will ever possess is not talent, not intellect, not charisma. It is the refusal to retreat. You don't get to be great and play it safe. You don't get to build legacy and stay comfortable. You don't get to live the life you dream of while keeping one foot in the old world. Burn the boats. Because anything less than all of you will never be enough. Not for this dream. Not for this life. Not for the mark you were born to leave. Now go. Not carefully. Not cautiously. Go like someone who knows the only way forward is through. And the only way through is all in. And when you go, go with intensity. Not panic. Not recklessness. But with the divine energy of a soul that has finally remembered what it came here to do. This is not about speed. It's about alignment. You can sprint in circles for years and call it progress, but it's only when you decide, when you commit with finality, that your steps start carving a real path. A path to something bigger than money. Bigger than praise. Bigger than you. Because once you burn the boats, the mission is no longer about you alone, it's about every life you'll touch by going all in. Every person who watches you and finally believes it's possible for them, too. Every generation that benefits from the decision you made today, to rise, to lead, to build without an exit. This world changes when people decide to live like that. Not for applause, but for impact. Not to be seen, but to serve through strength. And strength isn't loud. It's consistent. It's doing what must be done when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, when nobody even knows the battle you're fighting. Strength is staying the course when every emotion in you says turn back. Strength is remembering your why when your muscles fail, your bank account dries, your circle shrinks, and your doubts scream louder than your dreams. You hold. You endure. You advance. Because the path of commitment is a forge. It will not spare you. It will sculpt you. And every challenge is a chisel. Every failure is a fire. Every delay is an invitation to go deeper, to meet the version of you who was always there beneath the noise. The one who doesn't break, they build. They build anyway. When it rains, they build. When it's quiet, they build. When no one believes, they build. Because builders aren't waiting for permission. They aren't counting likes. They aren't tracking followers. They're tracking foundation. And foundations don't go viral. They go deep. And depth is what separates the eternal from the temporary. That's why this moment matters. Not because it looks good on paper. But because it feels impossible, and you're choosing it anyway. You're showing yourself that your actions can be louder than your fear. That your future is stronger than your comfort. That your fire is greater than your fallback. This is the death of Plan B. This is the moment you walk through the smoke of your old life and breathe in the air of your new one, raw, unfiltered, earned. There is no more someday. There is only this day. And what you decide now determines the story you'll tell later. When the world asks, how did you do it? You'll smile. You'll look them in the eyes. And you'll say, I stopped negotiating with my limits. I stopped asking for guarantees. I stopped playing safe, and I burned the boats. That is all. That is everything. And that is when life began. So go now, with fire in your chest, steel in your spine, and a dream so relentless it echoes through the bones of time. They'll feel it. They'll see it. And long after you're gone, they'll remember that you were the one who chose destiny over doubt. And gave the world a reason to believe again. And when they remember, they won't remember the details, not the spreadsheets, the meetings, the late-night edits, the endless revisions. They won't remember how many times you questioned yourself, how close you came to quitting, how often your hands trembled when you hit send, launch, or begin. But they will remember the impact. They will remember the ripple. Because when one soul commits, truly, fully, with nothing held back, it gives others permission to do the same. Your fire becomes a torch. Your decision becomes a call. A call to those buried in hesitation. Paralyzed by perfection. Suffocating in safety. You show them that escape was never the answer, engagement was. That the pain of effort is temporary, but the pain of regret is forever. And that living half a life just to avoid falling is the greatest fall of all. Because what are you protecting, really? The illusion of control? The comfort of mediocrity? The approval of people too afraid to chase their own calling? There comes a time when you must break free of all that, not gently, but violently. With a decision that shatters your old rhythm. With action that destroys the comfort of the familiar. With movement so fierce, so final, that there is no way back. This is what the greats understood. Hill knew it. He wrote it into every word of Think and Grow Rich, that the moment of decision, real decision, is the birthplace of power. Not when you wish. Not when you plan. But when you decide. When Hernán Cortés arrived on the shores of the New World and ordered his men to burn the ships, he wasn't being dramatic. He was being exact. He knew what so many forget, that the presence of a way out weakens the strength of what's within. And in your life, the ships may look different. They may be jobs that numb you. Relationships that shrink you. Habits that sedate you. Excuses dressed up as reasons. But all of them, every last one, must burn if you are to rise. Because you can't fly while chained to the shore. And the truth is, those chains were never steel. They were stories. Old identities. Old doubts. Old voices telling you what you can't do, what you shouldn't try, how you're not quite enough. Burn them. Burn the belief that says you must wait for certainty. Burn the lie that says only the gifted succeed. Burn the myth that failure defines you. It never did. It never will. What defines you is what you do next. When your heart is cracked wide open. When you're standing in the ashes of what was. When your past is gone and your future hasn't arrived yet, just you, right here, in the fire. This is the forge. This is the place every legend is made. And the world may not see it yet. They may not understand the hunger in your eyes or the calm in your silence. They may not feel the magnitude of what you're building. But they will. Because real power doesn't need to be explained. It needs only to be demonstrated. So rise now. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. That you can. That you will. That you were born to rise. And with no boats behind you and the storm in front of you, you don't hesitate. You advance. And the world will watch. And time will tell. And your fire will never die. Because this is not a chapter. This is not a phase. This is not a try. This is a transformation. Once you burn the boats, the old world stops calling your name. And if it does, you won't answer. Because you've outgrown its language. You've shed the skin of who you were, and with it, every excuse that kept you small. You've crossed the line, erased it behind you, and sworn an oath to never retreat again. Not in body. Not in mind. Not in spirit. You are not who you were. You are who you decided to become. And from this moment forward, that decision becomes your armor. It becomes your compass in the fog. It becomes the steel in your resolve when everything around you shakes. Because it will shake. The world will test your decision. It will throw delays at your discipline. Obstacles at your optimism. Failures at your faith. But that's not punishment, that's preparation. The fire you walk through now is not here to destroy you. It's here to refine you. To prove to you what you were never quite sure of. That you can hold the line. That you can weather the storm. That you can rise, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Success is not handed. It is forged. And you are in the furnace. This is what it feels like to be reborn. Not in theory. Not in thought. But in blood, in sweat, in soul-stretching hours where doubt claws at your back, and still, you move. You build. You rise. Because you have become the kind of person who refuses to be ordinary. You have tasted the edges of your potential, and you will not go back. You are no longer tempted by the shores of comfort. No longer lured by the whispers of good enough. No longer tricked by the shallow praise of the uncommitted. You were made for more. You chose more. And that choice, that singular, irreversible choice. That is the birthplace of greatness. Do you think Carnegie never faced fear? That Lincoln never felt crushed? That Oprah never questioned whether she could keep going? That Steve Jobs didn't wonder if he'd blown it, the first time they pushed him out of his own company? Of course they did. But when the moment came, when the walls closed in and everything screamed, turn back. They remembered, there are no boats left. And in that moment, they found a deeper gear. A fire beneath the fire. A voice within the voice that said, no. We go forward. We go anyway. We go because we must. And so must you. You are not here to dabble. You are not here to delay. You are not here to live a half-life waiting for the stars to align. You are here to command the sky. To summon something greater. To take the raw material of your circumstances, no matter how broken, how humble, how heavy, and turn it into legacy. That is the calling of those who burn the boats. Not perfection, but purpose. Not ease, but elevation. Not escape, but evolution. And if that means walking through the storm, good. You're learning to dance in it. Because on the other side of that storm is not just success. It's sovereignty. Ownership of your time. Ownership of your voice. Ownership of your life. And no one, no critic, no loss, no moment of weakness, can ever take that from you. Because it was earned. By the version of you that chose fire over fear. And never looked back. And now. With every breath. With every step. You move not as someone who hopes to succeed. But as someone who has decided. There's a power in that. An untouchable gravity. A quiet ferocity that doesn't ask for the world's permission, it claims its place in it. You don't flinch anymore when things fall apart. Because you understand, destruction often comes before design. Before the masterpiece, comes the mess. Before the clarity, the chaos. Before the breakthrough, the breaking. But you're not afraid of that anymore. You don't curse the challenge, you welcome it. Because you know now. Pressure doesn't weaken diamonds. Fire doesn't ruin gold. And failure doesn't destroy the decided. No one else needs to see it yet. They don't need to understand it. They don't need to applaud the path you've chosen. That's not why you walk it. You walk it because you must. Because some part of you, ancient, instinctive, eternal, knows that the old life was never meant to contain your fire. It was the waiting room. This is the awakening. The second you torched your fallback plan. You rewrote your identity. Not, maybe. Not, hopefully. Not, if things go right. You wrote it in action. You etched it in effort. You carved it in clarity. And that clarity became commitment. Not the weak kind that folds under pressure. Not the kind that waits for motivation. But the kind that moves anyway. When it's dark. When it's heavy. When it's lonely. When the voices in your head whisper, go back. You answer with fire. There is no back. Because you didn't come this far to be reasonable. You didn't sacrifice comfort just to land in convenience. You didn't walk through fire to live in lukewarm waters. You came to dominate. To lead. To inspire. To become the living proof that commitment is stronger than circumstance. That vision outweighs environment. That decision is destiny. And the moment you burned the boats, you activated a version of yourself that will never again settle for less than the full measure of who you are. Yes, there will be days you stumble. There will be days the doubt creeps in again. There will be nights where the wind howls louder than your resolve. But listen to me, and listen well. The boats are gone. And what's ahead is yours, if you keep walking. Keep showing up. Keep choosing. Because at the end of this path is a version of you so powerful, so grounded, so unstoppable. You'll barely recognize them. But they're already inside you. Waiting. Watching. Pushing. And they're whispering the words you now carry in your bloodstream. No retreat. No excuse. No way back. Only forward. Only fire. Only everything. Because anything less is betrayal. Betrayal of the gift you've been given. Betrayal of the fire that chose you. Betrayal of the hundreds, the thousands, who will never see their own greatness because they were waiting to see it in someone like you first. You carry more than a dream now. You carry responsibility. And not the kind others impose on you, the kind you place on yourself. The kind that says, if not me, then who? The kind that wakes you at 4 a.m. with no alarm, no audience, just that silent voice inside that whispers, keep going. This is what separates leaders from wanderers. This is what defines those who build legacies instead of living loops. They don't wait for clarity. They create it. They don't wait for the road, they pave it. They don't wait for momentum, they become it. And when doubt rises, they don't beg it to leave. They walk anyway. Because greatness is never about being free from fear. It's about moving with it. Carrying it. Commanding it. And letting it fuel the fire instead of extinguishing the flame. This is what happens when you cross the line. When you make that internal vow. When the comfort dies and the calling takes over. And make no mistake, it is a calling. That deep hum in your bones when you know you were meant for more. That ache in your chest when you see others settle and something inside you screams. That fire in your gut that says, I don't know how, but I have to try. It's not random. It's not fiction. It's not coincidence. It's the truth, the eternal truth of who you are. And it will keep whispering until you turn it into a war cry. So cry out. Move. Act. Build. Don't wait for the confidence to come, build it brick by brick in the doing. Don't wait for the fear to vanish, crush it under the weight of consistent progress. Don't wait for someone to crown you, you're already chosen. You don't need credentials to start. You don't need applause to continue. You don't need guarantees to go all in. What you need is conviction. The kind that anchors your soul when the results haven't arrived. The kind that keeps you honest when shortcuts call. The kind that turns, "I can't," into, "Watch me." And if they doubt you? Good. Doubt is fuel. Use it. If they mock you? Even better. Because while they talk, you build. While they scroll, you sweat. While they shrink, you expand. And there will come a day, not in theory, but in fact, when the world looks back and sees what you built, and they'll say, "How did they do it?" And they won't see the fires you walked through. They won't feel the nights you bled your soul into your craft. They won't taste the bitterness of the setbacks, or the silence of the lonely climb. But they'll see you. And you'll know. You'll know. It wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't fate. It was the decision to burn the boats. And become unstoppable. Then let this be the final breath before the roar. The final flicker before the blaze. The final line before the leap into the unknown, not as a wanderer, but as a warrior. You didn't come this far to flirt with destiny. You came to marry it. To take the vow. To say, "This is my path." No more backup. No more maybe. No more almost. Only always. Always forward. Always committed. Always relentless in the pursuit of the future you've seen, even when no one else sees it yet. Because you've already buried the old life. You've already burned the bridges. You've already set fire to the excuses, the delays, the distractions dressed up as priorities. Now, there is nothing left but the next step. And that step is sacred. That step is truth. That step is the proof you've been waiting for, not outside you, but within you. This is the place all power flows from. Not from titles. Not from wealth. Not from followers. But from finality. The irreversible decision. The, "I will do this or die trying." The, "I don't care how long it takes, I will see it through." That is where real men and women rise. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not when it's easy, but when it's silent. And through that silence, you become something else. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop hoping. You start embodying. Because now, you are the thing. You don't talk about discipline, you are discipline. You don't hope for resilience, you embody it. You don't wish for greatness, you breathe it. And when you walk into a room, you don't need to announce it. Your presence declares it. Because when you burn the boats, the fire follows you. It clings to your words. It crackles in your eyes. It lives in your breath. People feel it, even if they can't name it. And years from now, when they tell your story, they won't remember every step you took. But they'll remember one thing. That when you reached the edge. When you faced the storm. When you stood before the unknown. You didn't hesitate. You didn't turn back. You didn't wait for certainty. You didn't beg for approval. You burned the boats. And from the ashes. You built an empire. Now go. The world is waiting. The fire is yours. And the future is already listening. To the footsteps of the one who chose to rise. Let them hear you. Let them feel you. Let them never forget. You were the one who stood in the fire. And became it.